Hello, I'm Jothy Rosenberg, the host of Designing Successful Startups, where today's guest is Bennett Maxwell.
And it was right after Crumble just put up some billboards, because we're both kind of right here in Utah County, that said like selling 1 million cookies a day. And you know me, I mean, I'm all analytical. I was like, 1 million cookies and they're selling for $3.75 each. I'm like, oh, that's $1 billion company. So I just calculated that they were $1 billion company. And then literally a week or so after, I get a lawsuit served to me. Never read a lawsuit, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I honestly, a lot of it was, we're probably like, should I just give up right now? Because this lawsuit's stupid. Like I read through it and it talked about our cookies having sprinkles and their cookies having sprinkles. And we have white vanilla ice cream and they have white vanilla ice cream. And we do a cookie with caramel and chocolate like a Twix. And they also do one.
Bennett Maxwell is a multifaceted entrepreneur renowned for his innovative approach to business and commitment to enhancing the entrepreneurial landscape. He is currently the driving force behind Dirty Dough Cookies, a fast-growing national cookie brand with over 80 stores open and dozens more set to launch this year. Maxwell's career spans diverse industries, from real estate in Utah to co-founding and successfully selling Switch to Solar. In addition to his entrepreneurial ventures, he is a sought-after speaker who regularly shares insights with the media. Bennett also hosts the Deeper Than Dough podcast, launched in 2023, where he explores finding joy and fulfillment in life through entrepreneurship and beyond. And here is Bennett. Hello, Bennett.
Jonathan, how's it going?
It's great to see you again. We've had one chance to get to know each other just a little bit, and so we're gonna spend some time here getting to know each other better, and hopefully giving some good information to the listeners. Let's start by giving people a sense of context. Where are you originally from, and where do you live now?
Same place, I guess. Utah County. I've lived a lot in California doing sales, but Orem, Utah is where I grew up, and now I'm in Pleasant Grove, Utah. And it's beautiful outside. We got snow right all over the mountains. Absolutely gorgeous.
So are the ski areas opening early?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but this is the first year that I'm going to take my 2 kids skiing or snowboarding. So we're looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. And what's the ski area of choice?
Well, we probably just do Sundance. It's the closest one to us. It's probably like the crappiest of all the resorts too, and the cheapest, but that's 25 minutes from our house. And my kids you go up there, you get the hot chocolate, and then you get this special sucker that they sell, and they just want to go to Sundance all the time for just the sucker.
Yeah, they have the right idea. Well, as I mentioned to you last time we talked, I've spent a lot of time skiing in Utah, and I'll be out again. I just booked my trip to come out first week of March to ski at Deer Valley.
Oh, awesome. Well, let me know if you're in town and you have some extra free time for some lunch.
Okay. Okay, that sounds great. All right, so you've had a journey through several different things, and we'll dig into the thing you're running right now, but in a minute. But what are some of the things that you've done on your entire entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. Started pretty young. I think in elementary school selling stuff, shaved ice, lemonade stands, candy bars at school. It's that was just the environment that I grew up with my siblings. There was 9 of us, and most of us are spaced just every 2 years. There's another kid. So anyways, we did a lot of business together, and then fast forward 20 years, we're still doing a lot of business together with a lot of my siblings. I got into Cutco sales right out of high school, served a 2-year Mormon mission, which is another 2 years of sales, and persuasion and follow-up, which was great. That led very well into a door-to-door career for a few years, which then led me to start a solar company. I ran that only for 18 months, sold it, bought the current company, Dirty Dough. I shouldn't even say it's the current company. I don't know if I told you this, Jothy, but last month I exited Dirty Dough. We sold to Craveworthy Brands, a restaurant portfolio company led by the Jimmy John's former CEO. So Now I'm on to the next thing again. Well, I mean, I'm always on to the next thing.
You're not just, gonna take the season off and just focus on skiing.
I mean, maybe I should do that. I'm always busy though. Try not to be too busy, but I don't know. It's so exciting. Like ending one business and going to the next is just everything's up in the air, and it's what am I going to do next and who am I going to meet? So right now I'm very in that first excited phase. Now I'm staying on as the director of franchise sales for Craveworthy Brands. They have 15 portfolio brands to sell franchises, but I'm always doing more than one thing.
All right. Well, so one of the things that you told me that you really like to spend time on is entrepreneurial innovation, the idea or the general concept of, well, there's some very simple ideas that could be turned into thriving businesses, even in competitive markets. And I'm imagining that Dirty Dough is one of those examples.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing. I bought Dirty Dough, and it was a single store out of Tempe, Arizona. I bought it with the purchase, with the intention of franchising it, and really expanding it to, I wanted a national brand. And if you want to open up, like right now we have 80 stores. We've opened up 80 stores in the last 2 years. And a lot of people know the brand name. How did you open up 80 stores? If each store costs, let's call it $250,000, it's quite a bit of money, $20 million to open up all those. Either you have the 20 million or you go find franchise partners. They fund it, right? They're paying for the store to be open. And then the benefit to them is they get to use your name brand, your products, your systems. So it's a really good win-win in that franchising. So I chose the franchising. Now, what am I going to do to be different? The big competitor in the space is Crumble, gourmet, large cookies, weekly rotations. And they do really well. But their back-end system, everything is made by hand and weighed by hand. And I don't think that that's sustainable, especially when you have California minimum wage is $20 an hour if you're a food brand or if you're any brand with over 50 locations. So it's just really hard. So what I did is I want to compete with Crumble, but on the back end, I wanted to compete with more established models. Mrs. Fields, Great American Cookie, Insomnia Cookies. Brands that have been around for 20, 45, 47 years, multiple hundred locations. What do? They centralize all their production so you get economies of scale, and then you mix thousands of cookies at a time rather than 60, right? You use professional bakers rather than college kids in the store. And then rather than hand weighing and hand portioning, you throw them through a machine, which gives you greater accuracy. And then for us, it gives us a much more unique product. All of our cookies are stuffed. And we also do the world's only 3-layer cookie, which is like a peanut butter cookie on the outside, chocolate cookie in the middle with hot fudge filling. So really, as far as
that sounds good,
goes, it was taking the back-end model from systems that have been working, looking at the Crumble model that's proven that it's very good at high revenue sales, and kind of combining them. So that was the innovation, which is funny because there was nothing new about it, but it is just combining two things that already worked and making it a little bit better.
But you bought this one store in Tempe, Arizona, and you hadn't done a really scaled franchise before that.
I didn't know what a franchise. I mean, there's the franchisee and the franchisor. The franchisor owns the corporation. The franchisee is buying the franchise. I didn't know what that was 3 years ago. Yeah, I'd had no experience or into food, but I did believe that generally, like, business is business, right? You have a product, you have to go sell the product and keep your costs low. It's just a different industry. So there's a lot of pros and cons, obviously, jumping into a new industry. But a lot of the pros were I didn't have this is how I used to do it when I worked for KFC or whatever, right? There was no preconceived notion. So I think we did try a lot of things that maybe other people wouldn't have tried. And a lot of those failed, but a lot of them really worked.
When you were first just the owner of a single store, but you knew you wanted to franchise, where did you go to learn all about, cookies and all the equipment that you needed and how to how to scale it. Who did you have a bunch of advisors or
Yeah.
how did you do that?
A little bit of everything. The first employee that we hired kind of on the corporate side, not that's running in the store, was a former Mrs. Fields employee. So that brought, a lot of knowledge of cookies and how to make them. And anyways, so it kind of started with her. And then the next step was finding, anybody and everybody who could teach me. So way before I found that first employee or any advisors, I was already just talking to any and everybody. Hey, what do you know about franchising? This is what I'm doing. How do you do it? And then it's like, oh, I recommend this franchise attorney. And then I talk with them. And somebody else recommends a different franchise attorney. I talk with them. And then somebody else says, oh, this person used to be in franchising, So a lot of it was just networking with random people, which is a little intimidating in the fact, like, I don't even know what I was asking them, right? I didn't have a clear, I want to franchise it. What do I do? But once I had that general concept, I got my first advisor, John Richards, very good business guy. He had a company that went public called InfoSpace, $30 billion IPO. He knows business. I'm like, can you be an advisor? I got him on. Then I asked him, okay, now what do we do? And he goes, we need more advisors, but you need an advisor that's an expert in the franchise space. So he called his buddy, Steve Hart, who owns Property Management Inc., which is the largest property management franchisor in the nation. And then we got him on the board as well. And then the third person that I was going for my advisor ended up being our CEO. She was the founder of Maui Wowie Smoothies and Coffee. Started that 40 years ago, grew it to 600 plus locations or franchises before exiting. So yes, it was surrounding myself with really good people and listening to their advice. And then I guess staying in my lane in the sales side. Like, I know I'm really good at sales, setting up some processes, but I don't follow anything. I'm not a follow through person. I'm a big idea. Let's start on a project, get excited. And then in 2 weeks, I'm on to the next idea. And I want to hand that off to a good operations or a good integrator, which I found with that CEO.
Very, very lucky. So I'm guessing by the name of her coffee franchise that she from Hawaii.
Not from, honestly, I forgot the story around it. It was something, yeah, they went to Maui quite a bit. Not from there though. I'm going to ask her because I should definitely know that.
Okay. So, you're a workaholic, and you came from
Oh, really? I like working, but I really don't work more than 40 hours a week and haven't for probably at least 3 years, at least since I sold my solar company.
Maybe I didn't mean workaholic in terms of hours, but you work hard, and but you also have a family, and a lot of people who are startup people or wannabe startup people that might be listening to this, I think sometimes worry that it's pretty hard to balance work-life balance when you're running a startup. But you've always considered that to be really important.
Yeah, and I would say it got really important when I sold my solar company. So that was just 3 years ago, and I just put kind of everything on hold until I was a workaholic. That was, working 80 hours a week, because it's like, once I'm a millionaire, if I could achieve millionaire status before 30, all your problems go away. I got up to 310 pounds. Didn't have a great relationship with my wife. Didn't even know I didn't have a great relationship with my wife. I thought it was great because we didn't fight. But I guess there's more to relationship than just not fighting. But that was kind of the situation I was in. Sold the company, achieved that goal, and I felt amazing. But what happens in the brain is your dopamine levels go back to baseline very quickly. So then it's like, okay, I sacrificed all of that for an hour, a week, a month worth of dopamine. Like, it wasn't worth it. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, what am I even working for? And I told myself this: if I have more money, then that equals more time off, more time freedom. And what am I going to do with more time? I'm going to go on more vacations. And why do I want to go on vacations? Because I'm with my family, and I need to be with my family because they make me happy. And then going through all of that, selling the company, achieving all of that, and I'm like, shoot, what do I do from here? I started seeing a therapist, and he helped me see that loop that I was telling myself, or that progression. And he said, well, why don't you just start doing it every day? Like, you don't need to go on a vacation to take your kids out, you know? So yeah, about 4 years ago, I was like, okay, I'm just not going to work past 4. I'm not going to work the weekends. There's a few exceptions here or there. Like this last weekend, I went to Houston, but I took the day off before and the day off after. That way, you know, if I'm working 2 days over the weekend, then I'm not working 2 days during the week. And that really helped kind of with the work-life balance. Because again, what is it all for? It's all to be with your family, but I don't need to sacrifice my family to then be with them later. I could just be with them now. So I think having that clear distinction right from the beginning of like, what am I after? And if I'm after increasing relationships with my family, don't sacrifice that to start off with, if that makes sense.
You must have a lot of discipline to, I mean, obviously you do, but I mean, to be able to shed a lot of extra weight that you somehow gained during that period of time.
Yes. I mean, that the whole weight loss thing was a whole nother journey, and a necessary journey, I think. Dirty Dough last year we went from 7 to 70 stores in 1 year, and it was as stressful as can be. You know, I don't know how, honestly, I would have gotten through all of that if I didn't really lean into health and fitness and being present in my body, because there's just so much stress. And you're always worried about tomorrow and this problem or that. But the thing is, they don't exist in the moment, right? So for me, what I did is, you have debilitating stress and you're like, crap, am I going to make it? Do I need to go raise more money? Do we have money? Am I going bankrupt? Like, all of those are going through your thoughts as an entrepreneur. If you're rapid growth, or at least it was for me. So very stressful. And the way that I was able to, I guess, cope with that was ice baths and saunas and working out and red light and vibration plate, and really, because all of those things allow you to not think about the future, right? You're not thinking about how am I going to pay rent next week when you're in an ice bath that's 35 degrees. So it really shows you, hey, you can get rid of your problems by just being present. And for me, that was very beneficial.
Is your strategy for exercise to, put it on your calendar and make sure it's a meeting. It's a meeting that's just with you. Is that how you do it?
Yes, except for it's not just with me. In the last few months, maybe 2 months ago, I posted on LinkedIn. I said, hey, anybody like to talk business and want to work out together? And I got several dozen people to hit me up on that. So almost 2 to 3 times a week, I go to the gym with a random person, just business, another business owner, and we just kind of talk and network, and that's super fun. I try not to get too regimen with my workout, because the purpose of working out for me is to feel good. And I don't want to feel stress around working out. So like this morning, I didn't work out. It was on my calendar, but instead I took my kids to school and my other kid to the babysitter, right? And then I'll just find some time later, which is a little weird on the working out. Like when I work out as well, I'm also not counting sets or reps, which is kind of very weird. I'm just going till whatever feels good, and then I leave after 30 minutes. So because it's such an enjoyable time, it doesn't cost a lot of work to get there, because it's not like, oh crap, I have to go squat 400 pounds today. I'm just going to go do whatever feels good.
On swim workout days, I have to be very regimented, because it's a set time, with the coach. So
okay, yeah.
So I did have to quit one master's program because it was very stressful. I had to get up at 4:15 because we were in the water at 5:15, and then for some reason the coach thought he should push me and make me lead the lane, and then somebody's touching my heels, and it was like, oh, okay, this is stop being fun,
Yeah.
And then you just got to quit and try something else.
Yeah, and I think that relates back to business as well. It's like, well, what are you doing this for? It's for fun, and if it's not fun anymore, then make it fun or go do something else again. I think that's a pretty good principle.
One of the things that you mentioned to me before, but we didn't have time to go into any details, so now is a good time to go into those details, was that Dirty Dough had some legal challenges. And And I think that's a useful thing to talk about because people need to be, prepared for dealing with those kinds of surprises. Talk about that, would you?
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, before we opened up our first franchise, we got a lawsuit from Crumble. And it was right after Crumble just put up some billboards, because we're both kind of right here in Utah County, that said like selling 1 million cookies a day. And you know me, I mean, I'm all analytical. I was like, 1 million cookies and they're selling for $3.75 each. I'm like, oh, that's $1 billion company. So I just calculated that they were $1 billion company. And then literally a week or so after, I get a lawsuit served to me. Never read a lawsuit, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I honestly, a lot of it was, we're probably like, should I just give up right now? Because this lawsuit's stupid. Like I read through it and it talked about our cookies having sprinkles and their cookies having sprinkles. And we have white vanilla ice cream and they have white vanilla ice cream. And we do a cookie with caramel and chocolate like a Twix. And they also do one. And it was just like, we use rectangle boxes. We do whimsical designs and they use whimsical designs. Obviously, they didn't invent any of this. So it's a tactic that a lot of businesses use to stifle competition, because it doesn't matter if it's legitimate or not. If you're suing someone that doesn't have $100,000 sitting in the bank and to like fight you off and say no. I mean, we went through this 1.5 years and we did settle it. But 1.5 years, spent $300,000 and we didn't even start into expert witnesses yet. It was just like discovery. So it was about to start getting really expensive. Anyways, back to the story. So they sue us. Nothing happens. A local news article 1.5 months later picks it up. Crumble suing Dirty Dough. So then it's like, crap. We'd sold like 60 franchises in the first 6 months, which was off to a great start. And now I'm like, crap. Now I have to, talk about this lawsuit to our existing franchisees. It's going to be an issue for all potential franchisees. So I'm going to be out there on social media. But I chose to do it kind of as a smart ass, because that's who I am. So the first thing I took a screenshot of the lawsuit and I tagged Crumble and I said something about like $1 billion company suing startups like over sprinkles, something like that. Watch out, Granny. They might be coming for you next. Something stupid, But that gained a lot of traction and people really liked that, and it was kind of funny. And then we put up billboards to respond to their billboards, but our billboards said, "Cookies so good, we're being sued. Our cookies don't crumble with the competition. Let your taste buds be the judge." Just stupid tongue-in-cheek things, super funny. Same thing, posted on social media, got over 1 million impressions just on LinkedIn alone. Again, tagging Crumble. Love your billboards. What do you think about mine? And I guess a lot of people, got behind us as kind of the David and Goliath story. And I also broke down every single point in the lawsuit and said why it was kind of bullcrap. And what I was trying to raise awareness that I guess legal warfare, you can just sue people out of business even if you're wrong, and that's completely legal. Long story short, we had sold 60 franchises in the first 6 months. The next 6 months, we sold an additional 230 franchises, and that was from the exposure of our reaction to the lawsuit. We also did professional commercials of the big cookie co shutting down lemonade stands because they also sell cookies, and very fun and very playful. But it got us on Good Morning America, CNBC, all of that. So it really gave us the eyes that we needed to fuel the growth. So kind of a lemon at first, and it ended up turning into the most amount of lemonade that I could ever imagine.
But so I don't understand how the real grounds for their suit.
So they don't need any real grounds. I could sue you today right after this call because the glare off of your glasses caused me emotional disturbance. You don't need any grounds to file a lawsuit. You could claim whatever you want. And then you can't go get an SBA loan tomorrow. And you're like, no. It's a lawsuit about the glare in my glasses. This is stupid. Just read it. And the SBA or any bank says, nope, it's just a hard and fast rule. We won't give you a loan. And and then you also have to disclose it on your franchise documents if you're in a lawsuit as well. So that means every potential franchisee is seeing that you're being sued by $1 billion company. So it doesn't matter that it was about sprinkles in a rectangle box. It matters that we have to now disclose it on our FDD, and that could scare away potential franchisees. And now I can't go get funding. So then I have to go the private route and that was a full-time job just raising money from angel investors.
But I if they're saying sprinkles in a rectangle box, then it sounds like an infringement kind of argument, which is, like you said, is crap, because there's no patent. There's no.
This is how crappy it was. There's 6 pictures on the lawsuit side by side, and when I say vanilla ice cream, they put a picture of our product, which is a cookie in an orange cup with vanilla ice cream on top. That's an actual product that we sell. And they set it next to their product that they don't even sell, which is a black cup of a pint of ice cream. And that's how they sell it. But it's like, they're not even the same, but they put those pictures side by side. And then sprinkles and a handful of other cookies. Well, everything's time-stamped on social media, right? When we release a cookie for the first time, it's on social media. Same thing with Crumble. Of the 6 examples, 5 of them we did first. So they actually found 5 examples that they copied us, and they sued us over it. So their attorney was an idiot. Zero, the facts on the lawsuit were all wrong. And that's why it went in our favor, because it wasn't like a he said, she said battle. This was something that I'm telling people on social media. Look at the 2 screenshots. Who did sprinkles first? Dirty Dough did, but yet they're suing us. Look at the rectangle box. They do have a trade dress on their box, but it specifically says, we do not claim the shape of this box in this mark, period. So they're saying it has nothing to do with the shape. And then they're suing us only over the shape. So it was just a bullshit lawsuit.
So you're saying that when there was a settlement, they paid you?
No, and I can't disclose settlement other than what we threw out. We did some general press release about the settlement. We did actually change our boxes from a square to a rectangle. There's no way in hell they would have ever won, but it would have cost another $100,000 to go through that process at least. So it was just like, who cares about the shape of the box? I don't care, So that is what we changed, and other than that, I think it worked out really well.
Oh, that's great. By the way, you're as I said earlier, your cookie that you described really sounds delicious. So, you're going to have to tell me where there's a store when I'm up in, when I'm up. Yeah. Well, I'll be in basically Deer Valley and up there. So there's probably one up there, huh?
Yes. Well, I guess in Salt Lake. I'll bring some to you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So you also talked a lot when you first met with me about just the joy of that you want to make sure there's a lot of joy in your life beyond the financial achievements. And you've mentioned family, you've mentioned vacations, and what else do you think of when you sort of want to paint this whole picture of kind of your successful life?
Yeah. So when I went through my midlife crisis at 28 years old, and I started seeing a therapist on why am I saying that my family and my health are the most important, but if I look at my calendar, I just am working all the time, right? What's going on there? And it was because I set my goal, which was the $1 million goal, right? But why did I want $1 million? I didn't ask myself that, other than because you have less problems, right? But I didn't really think through it. And then I had to kind of reanalyze life again and say, okay, what drives my behavior? What drives human behavior? Because we all set, these material goals, but do material goals actually drive human behavior? Well, what are we after? We're not after material things. We're after an emotional state. And I think that's very evident, because I could say, do you want $1 billion company, but you're guaranteed to be depressed every day? Or do you want to be poor, but you're guaranteed that you're enthusiastic and happy all the time, right? It's of course, it's not about the money. It's about your state of well-being. So if your goals don't include a state of well-being, you're falling short, in my opinion. So what is that well-being that I wanted? I narrowed it down to joy and fulfillment. And I chose joy over happiness because, at least to me, happiness is more of a momentary emotional state, where joy is you can have a joyful life, but you're not happy all the time, because that's impossible. And then fulfillment, more than just being happy, but do you feel good about your life? And then I threw in despite life's dirtiness, kind of play on words. But for me, it meant Don't wait to sell your solar company to find joy and fulfillment. So I created that mission statement, finding joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness for myself and others. And then the company adapted that, which really brought on, I mean, I kind of without an intent, a lot of franchisees gravitated kind of towards that mission statement, and that I was, I guess, very upfront with it. So once I narrowed that down, now as I'm making my decisions based off of joy and fulfillment, not money. So Friday of last week, 4 days ago, I have a few meetings. It's a Friday. I see that my son is going to his first preschool field trip ever to the pumpkin patch. And it's like, okay, this is a pretty important meeting, but in the grand scheme of things, will it matter if I push it out a week? No, not at all. I pushed it out a week. I went to the field trip and had a great time with my son, because again, the question was, what's going to bring me more joy and fulfillment, not what's going to bring me more money. And I think having that emotional state defined and then using that as I'm making my decisions on how many franchises to sell, do we raise money, who do we accept money from? It's what's going to bring me more joy and fulfillment rather than what's going to maybe make me more money.
Hi, the podcast you are listening to is a companion to my recent book, Tech Startup Toolkit: How to Launch Strong and Exit Big. This is the book I wish I'd had, as I was founding and running 8 startups over 35 years. It's like a memoir of my entrepreneurial journey. I tell the unvarnished truth about what went right and especially about what went wrong. It's for the founder, the CEO, and wannabe founders of tech and non-tech startups. You can get it from all the usual booksellers and also from the publisher at Manning.com. I hope you like it. It's a true labor of love. Now back to the show. Yeah, I'm curious what made you think that $1 million would make you not have to worry?
I don't know. You grow up and you're like, you hear somebody's a millionaire and you're like, oh, wow, they're a millionaire, you know? And granted, $1 million today is a lot different than $1 million 20 years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I never thought it through. Just like before that, my goal before that was to be a pediatrician. Why? Because it sounded good. I think doctors are well respected. I like kids. Little did I know, I'm queasy when it comes to blood. But that's still the career path I chose just because I didn't really think through it, right? You put a few hours of thought and you're like, okay, they make $200,000. They're well respected. I didn't think about 11 years of school and residency and $100,000 in debt and not seeing my family. That's just what I chose because I didn't think about it enough. So going back to whether it's a business coach, a mentor, an advisor, or a therapist, like having somebody else to guide you through that and let you see what you're not seeing is extremely, extremely beneficial.
I did the math like a year or so ago. I think the number is somewhere between 6 and 8 million. You can live off of it and not touch the principal.
Yeah. If you get $5 million, you're accounting for a 3% inflation, and you make an 8% return. That means while you're accounting for inflation, you could withdraw 5% and your money's not getting eaten by inflation. 5% of $5 million is $250,000 a year. So even with 5 million, you can live off of $250,000 per year and not touch your nest egg and not be affected by inflation, which is pretty cool. But I didn't know all that.
I also had the same goal to get $1 million by the time I was 30, and I didn't achieve it.
And nothing happened probably, right? And I achieved it and nothing also happened. It was either way, it was just like a goal that I think goals are very important because they're exciting, but if we attach our self-worth and our progression and our validation on if we achieve that goal or not, I think that is a recipe for failure. Because at the end of the day, there's so many things that are out of our control. And to realize that and not try to control everything, I think without a doubt leads to a happier life. Having less expectations on life leads to a happier life rather than having higher expectation, because all discomfort, suffering, whatever comes from wanting something, right? The Buddha said, desire is the root of all suffering. And if you think about it, you're like, that's true. So if I could just want less, then you're going to suffer less. Rather than having, I need $1 million to be happy. I need a Tesla. I need a this or that. It's like, no, I just need to live and experience life. And then whatever comes. And that's the way I'm gravitating more and more. And it's hard because it's different, but I do think that I've made a lot of progress, and it's allowed me to not pull my hair out every night, when the business stress and just life stress comes down on you.
We all say that every startup founder has a lot of grit. In your case, grit probably, I would guess, has to be defined as fearless, because you've just taken on these things. You've had to have no fear to turn one cookie shop in a city that's not even where you live into a franchise and do all these multiple businesses. Do all people of the LDS faith have grit, or do all people coming from a family of 9 kids have grit, or where's yours come from?
I think both. Looking at family, out of the 9 kids, even the few that like went to the corporate route, they still have side businesses. One works for Facebook, but he also has an app that he's been running for a few years on the side, So I do think a lot of the entrepreneur or the grit does come from a kind of figure it out mentality in a household of 9 kids with a single mom. Okay, talking about grit. If you want to go to football camp, it's $400. I don't have $400, right? What do? You can go sell a banner to a business so they could advertise on your football stadium. I was the only kid in the school that did that. And I was just cold knocking businesses. So like those little things, I was selling cookie dough door to door to pay for my wrestling program. Same thing with rugby. They also use the same cookie dough fundraising. So it kind of came full circle.
Was that your mother's idea to do that when we first?
No, those are
your idea
programs. Yeah. It's just, if you want something, go figure out how to do it. I remember maybe in 3rd grade, I would wake up. She went back to school. So, and she was gone like when me and my brothers were waking up. So me and my 2 little brothers, I would wake up, make them breakfast burritos every morning, make myself the breakfast burrito, and walk over to the neighbor's house and get a ride to school, and then we'd walk home, So, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that kind of set us all up for hey, kind of take care of yourself. Mom's here for you, but you're also capable of taking care of yourself. Going to the LDS, I think that's probably the bigger reason. At least in sales, you see a lot of ex-missionaries, former missionaries, really good at sales. And you see all of the top door-to-door companies in the world right here in Utah County. Brigham Young University, Utah Valley University, 70,000 students, 10 minutes apart from each other. And then you have all the big door-to-door companies just recruiting, because it's all former missionaries. And you do receive all of that training. I think there's a lot of negativity around it. There's a lot of positivity. There's a culture of you go on a mission when you're 19 years old, and it's 2 years. You don't know where you're going. I went to Tijuana. I didn't know Spanish. They throw you in the mission. You have a companion. He didn't speak any English. I don't speak any Spanish. And it's just like, good luck. You get a call home twice a year, once on Mother's Day, once on Mother's Day and Christmas for an hour each time. And then you get 1 hour of emails on Monday. Everything else is head down and working. I think that is very healthy for a young adult to go through and be so dedicated to something. I do think there's a lot of shame around it. Like, if you don't go on a mission, that's shameful. Girls don't want to marry you, because you're not worthy, you're not righteous. And if you come home early from your mission, forget it. Oh, you couldn't finish it. You're not faithful enough for the Lord, which I think that's all bullshit. But it does create a very good culture of these like diehard kids that just want to finish it. And then you take kids out and you teach them summer sales. So like my first year, I recruited 40 college kids plus me. We all moved out to North Carolina to go sell pest control in the summer. And it's a hard job, right? Door-to-door sales, it's a hard job. And you have a lot of people that don't make money. It's straight commission. And you're like telling them, okay, it's time to go home. It's been a month. You've made no money. And they're like, no, I promised myself I would see it through. And you're like, no, this is a job. This isn't a mission. It's not shame if you quit, But yes, I think LDS culture gave me a ton of grit that I'm very grateful. I'm not associated with the religion at all, but the things that it taught me, I'll be forever grateful for.
So where were you in the 9 kids?
7 out of 9. And there's 7 boys as well. So anyways, yeah, me and I have a brother 2 years younger than me, 4 years younger than me, and then another brother 2 years older than me. So the 4 of us within 8 years, we were pretty tight. And we still are. We still do business together. We still hang out. So it's fun.
So the oldest one is quite a bit older than you.
Yeah. His name is Uncle Blake. He was on his Mormon mission in Ireland when my youngest brother was born, Bailey. So when he came home from his mission, Bailey was, 1, 2 years old. And he called him Uncle Blake because he didn't know it was his brother. Yeah, 20 years apart.
That's amazing. I gather that you're not planning to repeat the 9 kids thing.
No. I mean, I don't know why my mom did it. I mean, I'm grateful because I was number 7, and I guess if she only had 6, I wouldn't be here. I don't think that that's healthy to have 9 kids in the sense of you only have so much time and attention to teach and to nurture your children. First-hand experience, when you got 9, you don't have time to actually pay attention to your kids. So me and my wife have 3 kids right now, and we are extremely happy with 3 that we have. And they're young, and it's still like dance practice, gymnastics, tumbling, soccer, field trips. It's still so much. I'm like, yeah, if we had a 4th kid, I would have to start missing games. And one thing that I've already committed to, I won't miss soccer games. I mean, I won't miss anything. I don't care what the work is. I don't care. Like, everything can wait for tomorrow, because I do know, I guess this goes back to a Harvard study. If you've heard of the longevity studies, the longest study out of any study, I believe, it's been going on for like 90 years on happiness. And they're following up with 700 individuals every 10 years or so. The study's coming to an end, 90 years later. And the number one thing that's indicative of a healthier, longer living life is close relationships. And they also said there's not one person that we've interviewed that said, I wish I would have worked more. Not one person is saying, I wish I would have, but most of them are saying, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. So I'm like, I'm going to hopefully pull from their wisdom and just say, I'm going to put my family first over work. I'll share one little story because this is a pretty proud moment for me last summer. I was going to Vegas for a day. I had a handful of meetings lined up, important meetings. Allegiant Stadium, we were doing a sponsorship with them. And that last year was the Super Bowl, like, do we want dirty dough here? I had a meeting with a 6-time Olympic gold medalist, huge influencer, another big real estate influencer with millions of followers, another guy that has 125 KFCs. So I have all these meetings lined up, and then it's my daughter's kindergarten graduation. And I'm like, oh, well, I already booked the flight. I'm going in the morning, coming back. Sorry, I'll take you on a date before. I'll take you on a date after. Like, what do you want to do? And then my wife said, hey, that's fine, but just so you know, she only graduates kindergarten once. That's all she said. Like, not to guilt trip me, she just, that. And I'm like, you know what? That is 1,000% true. And I know going forward, I will not remember not like missing these meetings, but I will remember missing the kindergarten graduation. So I texted all those individuals and I said, hey, sorry, I got my schedule confused with my wife. I'm not going to be able to make it. And I specifically said for my daughter's kindergarten graduation. And they all didn't care. All of them were like, oh, yeah, go take care of that. Every single one of them was supportive. And I was just like, holy crap. And I did reschedule for the next week, and I was still able to meet with 3 of the 4, right? And I'm like, I'm looking back at that, and I'm like, now that's a story and a memory and a positive memory, something that I'm proud of, where if I would have missed it, maybe it's still a memory, but it's something that I probably would have regretted. So far, it's working. It's a little scary, and you're always like, no, these things can't wait for tomorrow. And they can. And they can wait always till tomorrow. They can always wait to the weekend. Even growing, to give people an idea, we've been burning $200,000 more than what we've spent every single month for the last 2 years. That's extremely, extremely stressful. And even in that environment, and going from 0 to 80 stores in 2 years, even in that environment, I tested this theory that I'm telling everybody. If I get something at 6 p.m., it's waiting until tomorrow. And so far, there's never been anything that couldn't wait till tomorrow. If I get something at 6 p.m. on a Friday, it's waiting till Monday. Even if it's an investor that's ready to go, it's like everybody can wait. And then people are like, no, you just don't get my situation. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it was harder than this situation, and it did work. So if anybody wants to try it, I'm imploring you, please try it, because it works.
That's a great message. And I think it's a great way to kind of end this episode.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. It's been great. That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Designing Successful Startups podcast. Check out the show notes for resources and links. Please follow and rate us at podchaser.com/designing successful startups. Also, please share and like us on your social media channels. This is Jonathan Rosenberg saying TTFN, ta-ta for now.